Dr. Salman, now a question for you, I think a very insightful one, which came into the chat. Your presentation suggests many tools and products that are available to finance development projects. However, how do you make such funds attractive to investors, especially after the recent economic distress of the pandemic?
Thank you very much for this question. It's a very important question. If we look at the returns and volatility of Islamic investments, what we see is that we are quite competitive when it comes to returns. And when it comes to volatility, the Islamic investments have been found to be less volatile, and especially so in financial crisis as compared to the normal period. And there is plenty of literature, plenty of empirical evidence in support of that. After the global financial crisis, Islamic investments did relatively better as compared to conventional investments in terms of returns. But when it comes to volatility, Islamic investments really outshined some of the conventional investments. So I agree that we need to have an integrated approach. We need to bring in commercial finance, which can be mobilized through capital markets, but we also have a very important role for social finance, because we have to face the reality that the financial inclusion numbers in Muslim majority countries are not quite high. And if we look at the savings ratio, the national savings rate, the ratios are not quite enough. If you look at the size of banking, size of capital markets, they are also not quite well developed. So we cannot rely solely on commercial finance and on very weak and very nascent capital markets. We need to revitalize social finance institutions as well, like Waqf. One of the reasons why the Waqf sector could not really have as much, you can say, interest by the, you can say, industry was not having favorable regulation, because the regulations are quite old. If we talk about South Asia, some of the regulations pertaining to Waqf are centuries old. So they are not quite really fit to the reality. And then people think that, well, if they are to pay to charity, why not they go for sadaqah rather than Waqf? Because the rules related to Waqf, both in terms of Islamic jurisprudence rules and also in terms of the law of the land, are quite complex. And sometimes it becomes very difficult to utilize the Waqf asset properly and to have exchange and substitution of those assets and to change the kinds of benefits that can be provided through Waqf. So because of these limitations, some of the, you can say, philanthropic activities are done in Muslim majority countries without the name as such of Islamic social finance. But if we are to categorize them, we would call them cash Waqf. In a sense, they are basically cash Waqf based philanthropic activities. So there is a lot of potential, but the regulation, the government support also needs to be there. Institutionalization is very necessary. And I think a blend of both commercial and social finance can help us overcome the underdevelopment and sustainable challenges that we are facing in the Muslim world.
Wonderful. Now, thank you so much, Dr. Salman.